Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is our second time going live on YouTube, so still doing a little bit of a learning process. So sorry for the delay. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We're super excited to have you and chat with you today. We got our background a little bit prettier, so the border has like our names on it. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick introduction of myself for those of you who don't know me yet. My name is Rosie. I'm the calligrapher behind Wandercrafter. I'm also the creator and the coach of the Craft Academy, which is a coaching program that is designed to give you a step-by-step process on how to go from 0 clients to actually booking your dream clients. It comes with all the templates for the pitches, your emails, your brand decks, and contracts so that you can actually book with confidence and get that consistent cash flow. I'm super excited because I have Rancy here. She has had a dramatic transformation with the Craft Academy, and we're going to dive really deep into that. So if this interview resonates with you, make sure that you book a call with me or a member of my team. And let's chat to see if the Craft Academy is a good fit for you, and you're a good fit for us as well. So I'm excited to introduce Rancy. She's the artist behind Calligraphy by Rancy, and she actually specializes in pointed pen calligraphy, engraving, bottle painting, and of course, Chinese calligraphy, which is totally unique to our industry right now as kind of what the culture looks like right now. So we're excited to kind of dive into that. When she joined the Craft Academy 4 months ago, she was struggling to make custom calligraphy designs for about $50 a piece, which would take her a couple of days to actually complete. Fast forward to today, 4 months later, Rancy's actually now working with amazing brands like Gucci, Prada, Disney Plus, and most recently, Cartier. So, Rancy, do you want to give us a quick introduction on yourself and tell us what your journey to calligraphy and entrepreneurship was like?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone, and hi, Rosie. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. My calligraphy journey started in during the beginning of the pandemic when I had a lot of time on my hands and I really wanted a creative outlet. And I'd always been interested in, I didn't even know what it was called. It happened to be pointed pen calligraphy, but in my mind back then, it was just so beautiful. And I had hired other calligraphers at my own wedding a couple years before that. And I just had it in my mind that I want to do that one day because I do Chinese calligraphy, and I've done that since I was a teenager. So pretty much all my life that I could remember. So I thought that this was kind of a transition that kind of made sense. I work with brush calligraphy, and this is pointed pen calligraphy. It's very different, but in some ways that there are similarities that you wouldn't expect. So
Mhm.
yeah, I got into pointed pen calligraphy as a hobby, like most other small business calligraphy owners here, not thinking much about it at all. Really,
Yeah.
it was just a way to it was very therapeutic for my mind too, because the pandemic, everybody's like anxious in some ways, and so it got me through that. And the same Christmas, I got inquiries from my own friends, the holiday seasons are coming around. Can create this for me, and gave me some ideas. And it was really fun at that time to kind of like test out, what I could communicate with, like potential clients. So I
Mhm.
did that for a little bit of like side pocket cash. And it got me thinking that could this turn into something more? And it did. And earlier this year, I registered it as a business. And since then, I've been approached by agencies. I've been approached by brands directly. I've been approached by just independent clients, or they have a commission work here and there on their own, or so all kinds of ways through my Instagram, my new website. So it's been quite a ride that I was not expecting. Like rewinding 2 years back, I never thought I would be here.
Yeah, and I love that you said that you kind of just did it as a teenager with Chinese calligraphy, and you were able to combine your skills and your passion for Chinese calligraphy and like really put that into your business. And let's like we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But before that, I wanted to talk to you about like what your business was like in the very beginning of your the beginning stages. Like what were you selling and what were your profit margins looking like?
Right. So it was all over the place and it wasn't much at all. It was really pocket money for like meals,
Mhm.
because I wasn't running it as a business in the beginning. And so it was they were all inquiries from people I knew. And I was really happy to do it for them because for the first time, I had never made money from art before. I had been
Yeah.
sketching, painting, doing Chinese calligraphy since I was a teenager. Never thought there would be any like profit margins in there. And so I got really excited about that. But it was really hard because every inquiry that I got from a friend was a unique piece to them. So it
Yeah.
wasn't even like I had a prototype and I could just recreate them and that would be faster and more efficient. It was like every time someone requested something, I had to think from zero. I had to start that design and that creative process from scratch.
Mhm.
So that is not a sustainable business route to go on. And then actually, when I got my first live event opportunity and experience, it was for Chinese calligraphy, which is my niche. And there are a lot of Chinese calligraphy masters out there, I'm sure, especially in Asia, like all the countries in Asia, and that's also where I'm from.
Mhm.
But here, it's just even more of a niche. It's like a niche within calligraphy because
Yeah.
calligraphy is already a niche. So when I
Mhm.
first got that opportunity, it came like someone found me. I had I even had no idea what live events were. So that was my experience. Like maybe other people like know what live events are and they go after the opportunity and secure their first booking. For me, it was like I didn't even know what it was. But thanks to my Chinese calligraphy niche, I don't think I would have gotten my first opportunity that way if it weren't for Chinese calligraphy. And it was around the Lunar New Year holidays.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I got a taste of it and I loved it. And then I found out that I could do this with pointed pen, with
Mhm.
lettering on, gift boxes, ornaments, and now I'm also learning bottle painting. I could combine bottle painting and engraving as well, and also continue with my Chinese calligraphy niche as well. So I've kind of pivoted from doing one-offs that I had to complete from scratch for very little pay because I was too
Mhm.
shy to charge my friends, to
Yeah.
now, like, really boldly putting myself out there, having my website, going in person to very intimidating luxury stores, like,
Yeah.
physically going in there to pitch myself, which I never imagined myself doing, and that to me is, like, one of the biggest transformations.
Oh, that's amazing. And I love that you outlined everything from beginning to end. And so that gives a really good summary on what we're going to talk about today. So we'll definitely kind of dive into the pitching and, kind of sticking within the calligraphy, Chinese calligraphy niche. But in the beginning, when you were only charging your friends like $50 or so, what was your average monthly income back then?
If I did a few of those a piece, and I also have another collaboration on Etsy with an Etsy owner, I do calligraphy for them. Um, an average of maybe $200 a month on a good month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely, like, what I like to call beer money because that's how much I
Yep.
was making, like, in the very beginning too, and I could, like, splurge on a little bit, like, maybe go to a nice dinner or something once a month, but it's obviously not enough to, like, have a living wage out of that and, like, actually be able to pay for your rent and stuff. So, what did your goals for the business look like, and what did you want your life to look like back then? Like, what were the initial goals when you first started your business?
Mhm. I think that it has shifted actually. Like what I think back then when I first registered it as a business and where I am now, it is actually kind of different too. It can shift within a few months, but I think back then it was definitely like a side hustle, and I wanted it to be legitimate for taxes
Hmm.
and purposes like that. So I think in the beginning, I just really wanted to pick up more clients and to show my artwork and my unique abilities. So I think in the beginning, it was as simple as that. And fast forward a few months, or like six months or 8 months after that, now I'm in a place where I am learning all of these skills and even social skills in the Craft Academy on how to like approach pitching, because we
Hmm.
can sit there and passively be found too.
Right.
But I think with the proactive pitching, now I have more in mind, like what brands I want to work with, what industry I want to work with, how I want to paint that for now and the future of my calligraphy business,
Hmm.
and just have a life of more freedom. You know, you have to work really hard at your small business, of course. Like a lot of times, it really doesn't give you time off, especially in the first 1 or 2 years of your business. But I just want to like kind of extend that further out into what does it look like in 3 to 5 years. So I understand that in the first couple of years, there's a lot of self pitching and self marketing and self promoting to the
Hmm.
brands. But my hope is, what my life looks like in 3 to 5 years is that once I establish, a better, more consistent clientele, that I'll have repeated clients and I can, work less for more. It's really
Hmm.
to maximize our income and to improve our skills and our craft at the same time. That will never stop. That really
Yeah,
will never stop.
absolutely.
Our investment in the supplies and skills and everything, that is ongoing. So I just imagine a life with more freedom and getting closer to my ideal clients.
Yeah, yeah, and it's one of those things that we'll continue to work on even 3 to 5 years down because you're always going to continue pivoting.
Yes.
So, in the beginning, how did you try to figure things out by yourself before the Craft Academy?
Yeah, that was, if anybody's in my shoes right now, like just know that there's help out there because I literally went from just trying to figure out everything by myself, and I had so-called calligrapher friends on Instagram that, you
Mhm.
never met in person. Can you really call them a friend? It's more like acquaintance. You know my work and I know your work, but we've never met in person. We've never had a phone call. Like I compliment you and vice versa. And because I had no community, I had no one to ask any business questions. It was easier to talk to people about their artwork, like, get a compliment here and there. And that was easier. But when it came to business related questions, I really had no one to turn to. And I felt like everybody I DM to ask a question here and there, I really felt shy. I felt like, am I being annoying?
Mm,
Why are they obligated to share free information and resources with me? They don't owe me anything. Now that
right.
they've helped me, it's a favor. Do I owe them anything? So it was a lot of that kind of being stuck on where to turn to for help. So it
Okay.
wasn't until, yeah, I found TCA, and it is a whole community of like-minded calligraphers and talents that I
Yeah,
really
we can
found
literally talk about anything. Like, it
anything.
anything, like,
I would
nothing is off limits.
Yeah, just to give an example, I'm so happy to find a community that knows what a nib and a burr is. Like,
Yeah,
nobody
yeah.
around me understands that, and that
Yeah.
that alone is, like, the greatest thing.
Oh, I know, like, sometimes I'll buy the nibs or, like, the burrs from Amazon, and, like, my fiancé is like, "What is that?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, like, look at this." I'm, like, showing all the different parts, and he's like, yeah, okay,
No,
I'm
I
done with this." Like, he's not
exactly.
into it at all.
Yeah, it's the lingo.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that information. I'm like, you're right. I should just tell my friends.
It's our tools. Yep.
Yeah. So, tell me, why did you decide to invest in yourself? Because you didn't have the business for that long, right? Before you joined
Yeah.
the Craft Academy.
Right.
So, what was the thing that sparked your interest in investing in a coach early on?
Right. So broadly speaking, if I were to like take myself out of just calligraphy, if we looked at ourselves just as a business, like any business, it can be a corporate business, it can be a small business, um, you don't really get any profit returns. Like you don't get any ROIs without investing in
Hmm.
something first. So for any business, in the first year, if you're not in deficit, then you're probably doing well. So I decided to think of myself not just as a calligraphy business, but as a business and saw the TCA investment as my first step, my first bold step towards investing in something that I really never thought that I would have the courage to invest
Hmm.
and help myself grow. So I think it was a combination of that mentality and with I wasn't really getting anywhere with myself. It just wasn't it was like crawling like a snail. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think eventually if I hadn't joined, I probably still could have gotten these things done, but just maybe give me 3 times the more amount of time and to
Hmm.
do it rather than doing everything in 4 months, maybe I would have spent a year, and time is money. So I think I really had to realize all of that and put all of that in place and then came up with the answer that I need a calligraphy business coach. I need the community
Hmm.
and I need the I need the tools and the skills to know how to run with it with my own niche and my own business. So it was a
Yeah,
pretty clear decision.
I love it. That was amazing. What a great answer. So what was the hardest part about entrepreneurship in your journey so far?
I think it definitely is mentality because all these things after I joined TCA that Rosie herself and the whole calligraphy community group, her modules, everything that's been like pushing me to complete. When I was by myself, I just didn't have the mentality to do it. I just always saw competition. I never felt community. So I
Mhm.
think right. I think the biggest difference is combining community with competition because your community they are actually your competitors too. But I think it's
Right.
healthy. I think it's healthy competing because when you see other people succeed, it motivates you because you see actual success examples
Mhm.
and then you tell yourself, if this can happen to someone else, it can happen to me too. If I work diligently, if I put
Mhm.
the work in. And so
Yeah.
I think community and competition are actually both really important.
Yeah, and I think what brings up a really good point too is that when you see something online, you're kind of seeing like the highlights of
Yes.
someone's life. You're seeing like the best part, the most shiny part, but you don't see the stuff in the background. You don't see the numbers. You don't see the stress that goes in behind that, what mental obstacles you end up going through. But with the Craft Academy, we always have these lessons learned too. So, like behind one post, there's probably 5 lessons learned behind that. And, with TCA, we actually post all the details of like how many events, what we're getting paid, what lessons we learn from that, so that not only do you continue learning from that experience, but you also teach other people how to avoid that experience as well. So I think that, like social media is amazing, but there's a lot of caveat to that, and breaking down that barrier for it is going to be really helpful, and just having that community to continue sharing.
Yeah.
So fast forward to 4 months ago, when you first joined the Craft Academy, what was the most like helpful thing for you that gave you the biggest like growth?
Yeah, I would love to break that down into 3 parts. One, in no particular order. When you join the Crafts Academy, there is a lifetime access to Rosie's modules, all the classes online, and she just keeps adding. Like, like, whatever you see now, like, that will not be the end of it. And
Mhm.
so you pay into it, but, like, it just keeps increasing because Rosie's also always growing. And so there she teaches us, gives us all the tools, but it's up to, it's like she opens the door for us, but it's up to us to walk through it, just like anything else. So I
Mhm.
think those are really helpful. And the second part is, are the coaching calls weekly. We actually get 2 coaching calls a week. And just like to go back on what Rosie said, what we always see on social media are the highlights, but we don't see the tears and the sweat behind it. So I think what's really valuable about the coaching calls is that when everybody gets together, you're seeing human beings. You're seeing human beings like uplifting each other and struggling with their demons, or we have a lot of highs and lows. We get a lot of sharing our wins, and also
Mhm.
like sharing what our frustrations and our struggles are, and trying to help each other out that way, and getting guidance from Rosie. So the coaching calls are definitely invaluable. And then the community, the community is like tacked on with the coaching calls, because that's where we get our community. And I've made so many friends in the Crafts Academy. Just like, we DM each other all the time. We talk about anything. We ask questions, we encourage each other, we post like a win, we did a live event, or a commission work, and we get so much love and so many
Yeah.
responses. And I feel so much more supported, having joined a program like this, than to be on this journey alone.
Yeah. And it's just been amazing having you, because you come pretty much every single week to the coaching calls, and that's, the results kind of speak for themselves. In the past 4 months that you've been in the program, you've literally been to every single coaching call, which is awesome, because I get to know you, I get to know your
Yeah,
personality, what your skill sets are and stuff.
yeah.
So one of the things that we ended up honing in on for Rancy is really taking advantage and leaning into the Chinese heritage. So what was it like kind of pulling your childhood skill sets into like your adulthood and your business? What was that like?
Yeah, that's been unreal, because I don't know what everyone's kind of impression of what Chinese calligraphy is supposed to be, but I've told Rosie this before, but you maybe think of like the older generation, older men and women, maybe old men, old Asian Chinese men in beards, and then like a really big, like a sleeve, rolling it
Yeah.
up. And that, which is great, because that is our culture and heritage. And I think, like, I don't want that generation to die off. That's very unique. But at the
Yeah.
same time, you know, my brand is not my brand does not look like that. I want my brand to be modern, and I want to pull my Chinese calligraphy skills into kind of the modernization of what Chinese calligraphy could be. So I'm trying to modernize it there for sure. And obviously I'm not an old Chinese man. So, I have my own image. I have You can see lots of pictures of me on my website, or
Mhm.
what I've done with Chinese calligraphy with other events or commission work. So I wanted to give people like an imagery of, like, that they can picture what it looks like for me to sit in their store and do Chinese calligraphy. And then something I really want to lean into is that I learned Chinese calligraphy back in Asia when I lived most of my life there.
Mhm.
So I come from a really authentic training background, and I really always just had it as a hobby, but I love it. And I'm so surprised, so pleasantly surprised, that this hobby can even, like, make any money, generate any income. Like, that wasn't my goal in the beginning, because I think
Mhm.
you can't just think about the money. You have to love the thing that you do. And
Yeah.
then once you find that there's a market for it, find some way to market it, monetize it. And like you cannot lose the passion. Otherwise, you're just working for money and the
Mhm.
clients can smell it. And
Mm.
so I think that's, yeah, that's all a really important like combination to have. And I'm just so grateful that other than pointed pen engraving, which is very, very high in competition, I also have this other niche to build on. And I definitely will lean into it, especially I think it gets pretty busy around the Lunar New Year.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I get approached, every so often here and there on DMs, emails, just asking me for Chinese calligraphy. So
Yeah,
always
see, I
pleasantly
told you.
surprised.
So I wanna kind of touch upon what you felt like 4 months ago because you had just worked for Disney Plus, and you were mentioning to me on a previous call that you felt like an imposter, that you weren't really doing real Chinese calligraphy and that you weren't, this like bearded old gray man doing it. But your attitude has changed so much from it since then. Do you want to kind of talk about some of the mental challenges or any mental blocks that you had to go through in order to feel confident about you as a Chinese American doing Chinese calligraphy?
Yeah, I that's a good point that I didn't if you hadn't brought it up, I hadn't really thought of it that way because when I was working on the Disney Plus live event, they actually um didn't want so much like the traditional Chinese brush calligraphy. They were okay with me
Hmm.
writing Chinese characters and just markers, like I use
Hmm.
Posca markers. And
Right.
strictly speaking, that's not Chinese calligraphy. I'm just
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
writing Chinese words with the marker.
Hmm.
So I definitely had imposter syndrome. Like, I thought, oh my gosh, anybody who could write Chinese characters could do this job. What am I,
Mm,
like, what do I have to
yeah.
prove for myself? Because like I felt like the Chinese brush was more artistic and much harder. Not everybody can do that. Um, but after some talks with Rosie, I realized I can't think that, oh, it's easy for me. So I'm just always going to maintain my price here. Because it's not, it's not easy. I think I probably think it's not difficult now, but I'm forgetting that I put in years. I've been doing Chinese calligraphy much longer than I've been doing pointed pen. I put in
Yep.
years of practice since I was a
Yep.
teenager. It's
Mhm.
not easy. It's a skill that it's a skill that's being built over years of time and practice. And if you don't practice for months or years, like your muscle memory actually, you lose the muscle memory, and you have to start over a little. You don't lose it completely. You start over a little bit. You don't write as good as before, but
Mhm.
there's always a way to pick it up. So I started to shift my mentality and thinking it's not easy. Like anybody who picks it up now to, get to maybe my level, like you're looking at a few years ahead of you. Or I look at
Exactly.
the
Yep.
extreme calligraphy masters in Asia. I'm lagging years and years maybe behind them. So there's
Mhm.
different levels and tiers of like how skilled you can be.
Yeah.
So I have a lot to work on, but at the same time, I should not forget that I put in years of practice and
Mhm.
experience in here. And so I'm worth
Yeah.
it. And, I'm, getting ready to increase my rates. So I'm feeling
Yeah.
pretty good about that. Yeah.
Mhm. And I think that just goes to show the power of having a coach on your side, someone who can see the potential and the rare skill set that you have and be able to bring it out with just a small amount of time. And so I think that really does show the value of you being in the program and the value of the program itself and what kind of transformations that you can actually go through when you have someone who knows exactly what you're supposed to do and then like really guides you there. So tell me about some of the wins that you've experienced since joining the Craft Academy.
Oh gosh. They can be as minor as uh, designing my logo, like as minor as that, printing my business card. I didn't even have these things ready before I joined. I always thought about it. I didn't. there was just something holding me back. And it
Mhm.
can be as small as that, to things like designing and building my website and launching it like within days. And that's something that would have taken me months to do.
Mhm.
So that was a big win. And I actually picked up engraving after I joined the Craft Academy, because before I was scared. I didn't it's a mechanical tool. What if I get hurt? I felt like I had no one to ask my questions. And now with a whole group of community of support, I was just confident to purchase it and start. And I booked my first engraving job, I think within a couple of months after I started. So
Yay.
that was a big win. And I'm going on another engraving job tomorrow. And yeah, thanks to Rosie. And so those are all really big wins. And just, everyday things like learning how to make reels on Instagram better, and to get more engagement, and to get more followers. Yeah, things like that. What else? Am I missing anything, Rosie? I'm just
I
like
mean, you've
trying
pitched
to.
yourself so many
Yes.
times, even
Oh,
before you were even like learning, like while you were still learning engraving, you had pitched yourself for engraving, which is
oh
awesome.
yes. That's something I wanted to say. Like, oh, it's also a mentality shift. After I joined the Craft
Mhm.
Academy, I just I just do stuff before I'm fully ready. Like, of course, I have to have like foundations. Like, you can't do that if you don't have foundations. But with foundations, I kind of jump ahead of myself a little bit. And I
Mhm.
think sometimes that's what it takes to grow your business, just at a faster speed than if you were to do it like feeling like you have to be 100% prepared before you
Mhm.
announce something, before you launch something, before you pitch yourself. So I kind of feel maybe 60, 70% ready, and then I do it. And then I just do it. And then sometimes it
Love it.
doesn't work out. Sometimes it does. And it's a pleasant surprise every time. Sometimes it does. And then I think, well,
Yeah.
I did it before I was ready, because I really, wanted to be bolder about my moves.
Mhm. I love it. So, you've already had so much success in the last 4 months. Where do you see yourself going with Calligraphy by Rancy, and how is the Craft Academy helping you achieve some of these goals?
Yeah, like I said, the Crafts Academy with the modules, the community, the coaching calls, and its ongoing lifetime support. Like, can we be 80 years old and like still chatting like this?
Yeah,
It's
of course.
totally, it's totally possible. And
We're
that
gonna
like
be the old Chinese women.
that excites me. And yeah, so lifetime support, I think our questions and our struggles and our wins are forever evolving.
Mhm.
So, even now looking back on my first couple of coaching calls, when I first joined, it's like I cringe because I'm like, what am I asking? Like, how was I so just not confident about anything? I still
Oh,
have
that's
a
so
lot
good,
of
though.
confidence to
I love
build.
that we have video records of this,
I
of,
know.
like, you actually showing up and just watching the growth every single week. It's amazing for me.
Yeah, yeah. So, I really have big hopes for taking Calligraphy by Rancy, to the next level, and then the next level, and the next level. So I for me, I like to do it more incrementally, because then it's more realistic for me to say, like, I'm at this stage this year or this holiday
Mhm,
season. What do I want it to look like next holiday season? And
mhm.
so forth and so on.
Yeah.
So I think, and for me, I know there are talks about multiple streams of income, but for myself, I just work better if I focus on one thing at a time. So right now, because of the holiday seasons, I am very focused on live events. Um, and I want to kind of establish myself in that area first, and then
Mhm,
there's always the potential of wedding season, and like having my own shop, or in the future, teaching my own course.
love
So I think I think that's all like things to think about.
Mhm.
for myself, and also, that will definitely grow on my website and my social media
Mhm.
as time passes by. Yeah.
Love that. Okay, so we're gonna bring our interview to a close. This has been such an amazing and educational interview so far. Um, what advice would you give to someone who is thinking about potentially investing in themselves?
Just do it. That's that's like the mantra for a very famous brand, but I'm not gonna say, but just do it. Because, I think you can have so many doubts about yourself, like I did. I know a lot of us in the Craft Academy have come from that place, and even Rosie shares a lot. She also shares her vulnerabilities too. Like you share, like how you were once in our shoes, and I think that's really relatable. So
Mhm.
if you feel like anything that we talked about in this interview resonates with you, even if you don't do Chinese calligraphy, it doesn't have to be the same niche. It can just be whatever your specialty is, because in the end, at the end of the day, running a business is running a business. Like we could all be doing different things, but there are similar components to running a business, and a lot of it has to do with mindset.
Yep,
So
yep.
I think if you're struggling just with mindset alone, that is the biggest barrier to break down. And once that mental barrier is broken down, I think everything else will just fall in line over time. Like you also
Yeah.
have to give it time. Don't expect overnight success. But the
Mhm.
first step is to invest yourself um, with a program that actually works, that people actually recommend, and that will really potentially help your business flourish to the next level. Just do it.
I love that. Oh my gosh. One thing that you also mentioned is to make sure so, like, Rancy does traditional, like, English calligraphy, right? She does, like, pointed pen, modern calligraphy, brush pen, all of that, but she also has leaned into her Chinese heritage and really goes for the Chinese calligraphy style and, art. One of the things that I wanted to mention is that you can literally make any kind of art or performance art into a brand activation. So we have Michelle who's done bottle painting, we have tons of people who do engraving. Essentially, if there's any kind of like piece of art or movement that engages people, you can turn that into a brand activation. So if you have something in mind that you want to kind of employ and use as a brand activation, that's kind of our specialty with the Craft Academy is honing in on those unique skill sets and setting yourself apart from the other calligraphers in your area. So Rancy, what would you tell yourself in the very, very beginning when you first started your business? What would you tell yourself then, knowing what you know now?
Wow. Oh my gosh. Then I feel like thinking back then, I was really such a baby in the business area. I would tell myself, there are endless possibilities. Like what you know now, it doesn't stop there. Like you don't know what you don't know. And so it's impossible for me to have known then, like where I could be now, or even like, I don't even know a year or two from now where I'm going to be. And that would be
Mhm.
pretty interesting to travel like back and forth in time. But yeah, I would tell myself that the possibilities are endless, and don't be afraid to take this leap to announce to my family and friends that I'm starting a business, because that's also been like a really hard thing to say or have a conversation about, because it doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily provide health insurance and all that like 9 to 5 jazz.
Mhm.
Yeah, so just tell myself like don't be afraid. You never know where this journey could take you.
Yeah.
And I think I've proven over the last like 6 or 8 months that it can really take you to heights that you just could never even have imagined in the beginning.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. That was so well said. So I think we'll probably end the conversation there, but this has been an amazing interview. So if you haven't been able to watch it from the beginning, I highly recommend that you rewind and watch the whole thing because Rancy spills so much information and gems that I think you're going to value. And she's really only been in the Craft Academy for about 4 months, and she's grown so much in such a short amount of time. And I think Rancy's journey is a wonderful example of how the program works and how vital it is to have a coach in your corner, rooting you on and really giving you the steps to success. So if this interview resonated with you and you really want to transform your calligraphy business from flourishing, frustrated into flourishing, and really reach those calligraphy business goals that you set for yourself, definitely book a call with me or my team. We are closing enrollment on October 31st so that we can give you enough time to actually input yourself and pitch yourself into these events that are happening in November and December. This is the biggest generating time for calligraphers. So I highly recommend that you start today and don't wait until 2023, because by then you'll be too late and you'll only be targeting like Valentine's Day and then maybe Mother's Day after that. So definitely don't wait for that success. You don't have to wait for until 2023 to set those goals. Today is the day to really do that. So Rancy, tell us where we can find you and how we can connect with you.
Yeah, sure. I'm on Instagram, social media at Calligraphy by Rancy. And I also have a website, www.calligraphybyrancy.com. So please feel free to connect with me. If you have any questions about the Craft Academy, you can also send me a DM. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to connecting with more new people, calligrapher friends, anybody like who's interested, has a question. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will link all of her information in the description down below. Definitely feel free to send either one of us a DM if you have any questions about the Craft Academy, or just, leaning into a brand new niche like Chinese calligraphy, like how Rancy did. If you have any questions, please, please, please feel free to reach out to us. We love connecting with new calligraphers, or anyone who is thinking about even starting a business. So until then, happy engraving, everyone.
Yay. Thanks, Rosie.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.